The MELUSI Community Agriculture Center by Hannu Venter. This intervention attempts to provide MELUSI with climate resilience strategies with regards to agriculture and nutrition. By utilizing and recording the existing agricultural and cultural knowledge of the residents of MELUSI, the center would attempt to breed new varieties of plants specifically suited to the MELUSI context and climate that is expected to be influenced by climate change. The MELUSI context. MELUSI is an informal neighborhood built on the old Zandfontein farm located in Pretoria West, north of the Witwatersrand mountain range. MELUSI can be found amongst the rapidly developing residential neighborhoods of Booysens, Pretoria Gardens, and Kirkley. The exploration into the nature of the context surrounding MELUSI revealed that there is limited infrastructural support for health, institutional education, and employment with sprawling residential developments. Conceptual argument. As a conceptual launching pad, Junior Dawn's spatial triad was contrasted with the conceptual framework that was derived from DK and Gazowski. Jordaan's triad is concerned with the aspects that make up place, namely the material dimension, the lived dimension, and then the mental dimension. Contrasting Jordaan's spatial triad is a framework developed from DK and Gazowski's article on integral sustainable thinking through daylighting. Therein, three categories of ecology contributing to sustainability were identified that illustrate sustainability as a social and experiential tool. By combining the frameworks, a mutually beneficial system can be seen taking shape. From this complex model, a few principles can be drawn as noted. Food security and MELUSI. Looking at the impact that climate change can have on the Greater South Africa, the quality and availability of fertile soil cover for agriculture is due to shrink due to the projected increase in water scarcity from climate change. With less soil and water to produce with, it is projected that food security of South Africa is at risk. Some alternatives are suggested by Lotter, such as having agricultural and sustainable systems coexist, and that each scale of agriculture is to adapt and respond to its specific climate change need. Slide 17 depicts general impacts of climate change on South Africa. As a continuation, Slide 18 expands on this, illustrating the impacts that it might have on the specific food security of MELUSI as a community. Slide 19 investigates the currently existing agricultural practices by illustrating the available water sources and the speculated subsistence farming that is taking place in MELUSI. On Slide 20, the area that the MELUSI clinic serves is noted. It is important to note that the available places to gain information regarding health and nutrition is extremely limited. Developed during the group work, the two main vulnerable areas identified in MELUSI are food security and health. These diagrams also investigate the degree to which a climate resilience strategy can alter or reduce the vulnerability. As explained through Jordaan's triad, the cultural and local knowledge that MELUSI holds is extremely valuable in attempting to create a climate-resilient MELUSI. A series of principles derived from reflecting on the climate vulnerabilities that MELUSI would face in the future. A common theme among the principles is the importance of education and the preserving of cultural and local knowledge in order to create a climate-resilient community. Site analysis. The immediate context of MELUSI was investigated at 3 different scales, resulting in 6 important areas on the site that needed to be considered and developed. Programmatic development. Slide 30 is a layout of the brief received by the client. It called for a clinic or research center that would address the primary care, nutrition, and education of the MELUSI community. Developing the notion of proper nutrition leading to better community health on Slide 31, a program was designed to create a system that would support the community in achieving better nutrition through agricultural practices. The program consists of 3 parts in creating an accessible node: the agricultural testing and experimentation areas, the nurturing of existing or new communal agricultural skills, and the documentation and archiving of agricultural information for the community to access. As noted, the dynamic between informal and formal conditions are important to the scheme. These two slides investigate the formal and the informal conditions and proposes programs that deal with each condition. Design development. The concept perspective for the street interface show a framework representing the informal condition and the formal masonry structure that supports the framework. The lowering of the library into the site is depicted here, recalling the notion of remembrance. Once again, the formal and informal conditions of the plant breeding program is explored with the framework being appropriated to suit a specific microclimate and the formal central laboratory giving structure to the architecture. Initially, the placement on the site was determined by the boundaries and the edges that was noticed in the mapping of the site. Further refinement led to the choice of a close relationship with the street and the open courtyards for agricultural fields between the architecture. Photographs of a model depicting the model in the context. The defined street edge can be seen, attempting to bring the architecture to the sidewalk in order for people to interact with it. Two side sections depict the manner in which the intervention is embedded into the MELUSI context, responding to the heights and scale of the neighboring architecture. An overall plan illustrating the mentioned street interface, the library, and the various methods of agricultural fields, namely the control planting and the more conventional open field planting method. An overview of the scheme provides an insight into the placement and organization of the architecture, with the library acting as a central node of the site after people have moved through the porous street interface. The height of the architecture was kept in line with the rest of the predominantly single-story residential context. Detailed plans offering a projective look at the activities and the relationships that is expected to manifest in these locations. More detailed plans showcasing more formal architectural arrangements and possible spatial conditions to achieve the program. Here the photograph of the model showcases a communal green space in front of the Skills Development Hall. A framework surrounding the communal public space allows people to add meaning and rituals to the material dimension by allowing the street to spill into the architectural spaces that have been created. This photograph shows the entrance towards the library after entering through the porous street interface. Note the appropriation taking place with the controlled planting. Here a view of the entire southern street edge is highlighted, depicting the manner in which the street flows into the architecture and created courtyards. As previously mentioned, the created street interface and connection to the MELUSI community is critical for the success of the intervention. Here is an imagined look at the street elevation with possible activities. Another look at the street interface highlights the interplay between formal and informal architectural elements. Climatic adaptation. Slide 63 illustrates possible climate adaptation options as illustrated that attempt to address climate resilience. Slide 64 notes all the climatic adaptation systems that is to be used in the intervention. Slide 65 proposes a system where water is heated inside a compost heap and circulated through the top of a ventilation tower, increasing the effectiveness of the ventilation tower. Slide 66 is a roof plan investigating the collection of water from the roofs that is stored in nearby water tanks. Slide 67 and 68 investigates the shape of the library roof. As the largest roof structure in the scheme, an opportunity arose to collect as much water as possible. Slide 69 to 70 features a photograph that shows how the agricultural framework can be appropriated to create a section of microclimate within which various plant species can be grown. The tops and the materials used for the sectioning off also acts as localized dew collectors to slowly collect waters early in the morning. Reflection. As a reflection on the project, some possible benefits that the project can hold in the long term and the short term were identified.